Prince Andrew. It won't go away. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Some time ago, I explained why Prince Andrew is a narcissist. It is fairly common to find narcissists within royal families. Quite simply, the individual who many centuries ago brought a country together would invariably have to exhibit the kind of traits which a narcissist would have. A desire to assert control over other people, someone for whom fuel mattered. They needed the response of those around them. They were a chameleon, being all things to all men. They operated with a ruthlessness. They had no moral compass. There was a callousness, an absence of guilt, remorse, or conscience, which enabled them to make the decisions which caused them to take the throne and to stay upon it. Thereafter, of course, their offspring had a good chance of being a narcissist themselves. The genetic predisposition would be passed down from monarch to child, and invariably that child found themselves in an environment which was a lack of control. Often they were kept away from their parent, deprived of the bonding that might ordinarily take place. In other instances, the very fact that they were royalty meant from an early age that people would bend knees around them, bow and scrape, curry favour with them, meaning that they would never actually had to try and achieve everything. They had no control over their own decisions because everything was already done for them. And thus, who could thrive healthily, born into such an environment? Very few indeed. Thus, this is why so many narcissists are found within the various royal families throughout history. And as I've explained to you previously, there are numerous that are to be found within the British royal family, one of whom is Prince Andrew. And I've set out previously the reasons why this is. There is a particular thorn in the side of Prince Andrew which repeatedly arises with regard to threatening his sense of control, and that is the relationship that he had with dead paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. You will recall the threats to control that arose as a consequence of the allegations that had been made against him by Virginia Giuffre. That civil case was settled against Prince Andrew. Nothing was proven against him. He was not charged. There were no convictions. It was not a criminal case. It was a civil case. That case, however, presented a threat to control because it suggested that he had engaged in sexual behaviour which was deemed to be reprehensible. Furthermore, compensation was being sought from him, which would also manifest as a threat to control. He nullified that threat to control by settling the case, and has since kept a low profile for reasons that I have explained in parts passim. Nevertheless, the issue of Epstein and his ghost looms large still, not only for Prince Andrew, but for other individuals that have been named in documentation and evidence that has recently been unsealed. Nevertheless, it is not those individuals that I am talking about. It is Prince Andrew. And as the Times reports, not only is it the case that he has been named in this documentation, but it has certain repercussions that have arisen from it. Prince Andrew has been reported to the police over the alleged sexual abuse of a 17-year-old girl in London after her claims were repeated in newly released court papers linking him to Jeffrey Epstein, the convicted paedophile. Republic, Britain's largest anti-monarchist campaign group, claimed that the files contained new details of sexual assault and rape allegations made against the Duke of York, which prompted it to ask the Metropolitan Police to reinvestigate the claims. The documents, unsealed by a court in New York, include accusations that Andrew sexually assaulted a minor, referred to as Jane Doe No. 3, while in London, which he has denied. Denial, the first line of the twin lines of the narcissistic defence. The alleged victim is Virginia Giuffre, née Roberts, who previously waived her anonymity to allege that she was trafficked to have sex with Andrew 3 times as a teenager by Epstein, who died in jail aged 66 while awaiting trial in 2019. The Duke has repeatedly denied the accusations and said he has no memory of meeting her. A further 19 documents released on Thursday night included email correspondence between Jeffrey and a journalist in 2011, setting out a claim that she was trafficked to both the Duke of York and to 2 of the world's most respected politicians. Reports on Thursday night said that the King was determined there was no way back for Prince Andrew to public royal life after the latest claims. That, of course, is King Charles protecting his own facade and nullifying the threat to control posed by the allegations being made against his brother. The new documents also contain a claim by Jeffrey that Bill Clinton had threatened the editors of Vanity Fair magazine, warning them not to portray his good friend Epstein as a sex trafficker. The Met declined to comment on Thursday night on whether it would review a previous decision not to pursue Jeffrey's allegations. She has claimed she was forced to have sex with Andrew in March 2001 at the Belgravia home of Ghislaine Maxwell, the British socialite, after being photographed with the prince. She alleges further abuse by Andrew occurred at Epstein's home in New York and during an orgy with Epstein on a Caribbean island. The Met previously said it would take no further action against the Duke or Epstein, and that any related inquiries into sex trafficking were focused on activities outside the United Kingdom. Following a review in 2021, the force also said it stood by its original 2015 decision not to investigate Jeffrey's claims. Jeffrey, now 40, sued the Duke in August 2021 under a US law allowing people who were allegedly sexually abused as minors to bring complaints otherwise barred by the statute of limitations. An out-of-court settlement, believed to be in the region of £10 million, was reached a few months later. The settlement was without liability, and Andrew has denied wrongdoing. Further details have now emerged in the released filings alleging that Epstein instructed her to give the prince whatever he demanded and required Jane Doe No. 3 to report back to him on the details of the sexual abuse. The development is a fresh setback for the late Queen's second son, who walked to church on Christmas Day with the King and the rest of the royal family, symbolising his gradual rehabilitation within the monarchy after his public appearance at his brother's coronation in his garter robes in May. The Daily Mail reported that plans were in place to evict him from the Royal Lodge, a 30-room property in Windsor Great Park, and move him to a smaller residence. It added that the documents are believed to strengthen Charles's resolve that Andrew will not resume royal duties. Buckingham Palace has previously issued denials on Andrew's behalf, saying he deplores the exploitation of any human being, and the suggestion he would condone, participate in, or encourage any such behaviour is abhorrent. Legal experts believe the Duke 63 is unlikely to face formal questioning over allegations contained in the documents, as long as he avoids travelling to the United States, where he could potentially be prosecuted. There is no criminal statute of limitations on sex trafficking, said Mitchell Epner, a New York defense attorney. There would have to be something exceedingly important for him to attend in the United States for it to make sense for him to come here. Further allegations that have arisen as a consequence of the unsealing of the documentation, which has led an organisation to report Prince Andrew to the police. It remains to be seen whether the Metropolitan Police will take any action. But where does this leave the narcissist that is Prince Andrew? What does this mean for Prince Andrew? It is not the case that he spends each day concerned about what he has done. The compartmentalization of his narcissism casts that to one side. He has no sense of guilt or remorse. When questioned about Virginia Giuffre, his narcissism deletes the record to say, I don't know who she is, I don't recall having ever met her. This is done to protect him against the threat to control, and then the matter is dealt with. He doesn't walk away concerned. He doesn't walk away worrying about what might happen next. His narcissism simply moves him on to the next thing. His performance, when he was being questioned on Newsnight, is demonstrative of the arrogance that personifies Prince Andrew. There's no sense of remorse. He truly doesn't see that he's done anything wrong whatsoever, and he regards the behaviour of people such as Virginia Giuffre as the activities of grifting women seeking to make a fast buck of him as a prominent individual. Prince Andrew, despite not being bright and only ever having achieved as a consequence of the fact that he happened to be the son of a queen, has spent his life barreling through it, exhibiting his customary arrogance and deeming that the world owes him a living. He deems it appropriate for people to bow and scrape to him. He doesn't see that he owes them anything, but rather people should be thankful for his presence. He has only kept a low profile because his narcissism has recognized that that's the effective way of nullifying the potential threats to control. This development of the resurrection of the Giuffre allegations, of course, threatens his sense of control, and he will simply dismiss it. This never happened. It's been settled. That's the end of the matter. It will not cause him to be worried. He will not be thinking that a police officer is going to come and feel his collar. Indeed, what is actually more pressing for Prince Andrew on a daily basis is the fact that he has no meaningful role in the royal family anymore. That's because that presents itself on a daily basis to him. When he sees the rest of the royal family attending events, dealing with ceremonial matters, discharging their various obligations as a member of the royal family, and he's not involved, that wounds him. That troubles him far more than the allegations that have been made against him. They are simply but a puff in the wind. They appear, he denies them, and they're forgotten about. But each and every day, the collateral consequence of all of that is a reminder of him having no active role in the royal family. It doesn't link him back to this was because of the allegations that were made against me, but rather he simply decries the fact that he isn't involved when he believes that he should be. He doesn't on a daily basis think about Virginia Giuffre and her allegations and potentially any other things that he might have done linked to Jeffrey Epstein, but rather he is annoyed by the fact that his brother will not allow him to have any meaningful role in the royal family, and instead, rather than recognise that he's brought it on himself with his bullish and boorish and arrogant behaviours, instead, he regards his brother as an arsehole for not involving him. He doesn't accept that it's the right thing for Charles to do. He believes that his brother should, in actual fact, now he's king, reach out, offer him an olive branch. He might say, I can understand why Mama acted this way, but you, bro, you should be bringing me back into the fold. Why won't you? Rather than recognising it's as a consequence of his own endeavours and actions, he will see Charles's repeated refusal to allow him any meaningful role as mean, dispirited, and ridiculous. Whenever Virginia Giuffre appears, his narcissism simply causes him to deny any involvement, and then he moves on to the next thing. It does not give him sleepless nights. What actually troubles him more on a daily basis is the fact that he has no meaningful involvement in the royal family, something which isn't going to alter. And therefore, you have somebody who is like a caged tiger, given nothing to do, prowl around, moan angrily about the way that he's been treated, but his narcissism recognising that he needs to keep a low profile if he is to maintain the residual benefits. It's a little bit similar to the way that the aging narcissist goes about matters, whereby the narcissism recognises that in order to maintain residual benefits, such as someone to give medication, someone to do the laundry, someone to wipe the backside of the aged narcissist, that the methods of control need to alter slightly. there is a shift. There is still the pursuit of the prime aims, there always will be, but the emphasis alters on preserving the residual benefits, which means being less likely to lash out as against that primary carer, the intimate partner primary source, for example, so that they're less likely to leave. Similarly for Andrew, his narcissism recognizes that in order to maintain the residual benefit of a place to live and certain financial support, that it is appropriate for him to do as he's told, even though he doesn't like it, vis-a-vis a withdrawal from an active occupation of work within the royal family. There will be further developments, and should the police investigate this further, then that will amount to a threat to his control, and undoubtedly he will maintain his denial. But for now, it raises its head, he dismisses it, and then he goes on to grumbling about the fact that Charles will not allow him an active role within the royal family. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.